There are some things in this world and in this life, and yes, even within the Catholic Church, they will always remain a mystery to us precisely because they are mysteries that are incomprehensible to our human intellect. And one of those mysteries is the mystery we celebrate today, God in three persons, yet remaining one God. I could easily give you like a graduate level explanation of the subtleties of the doctrine of the Blessed Trinity, but I can assure you it would probably clarify nothing. I could use a variety of analogies, but they would only confuse. And the problem with analogies is that they lead to error. And you can readily find yourself in the deep end of the pool without a life preserver. And so what I want to do with you this morning is help you see that you already intuitively and on some level understand the mystery of the Trinity. And that you've known this doctrine, this divinely revealed doctrine, from the time you were a little child. And it can be summarized, don't be surprised, but in the simple phrase, God is love. I would be so bold as to suggest, there are people who would disagree with me, fine, that the statement, God is love, is proof that God is a trinity of persons. And we don't need to say a whole lot more than that. Because, see, just as a point of clarification, we're not taught God loves, certainly he does, but we are told God is love. And now to the part that you already know, on an intuitive, human, experiential level, that the nature of love requires what? Someone who loves God the Father, the one who is loved, the only begotten Son, and then there is the issue of the love itself. And when we take that and we integrate it with something else we have known from the time we were children, that we are created in the image and likeness of God, we come to understand that we were created by love, we were created for love. And when we look at the creation account of the book of Exodus, in the book of Genesis, we see God doing what? Creating people in his image and likeness, beginning with a man and then continuing with a woman. One who loves and the one who is loved, and can make a return of that love. At last, this one is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. And we're told that for this reason, a man leaves his mother and father and is joined to his wife. And the two become one flesh. And the Lord then gave them a very simple command. And I'm sure it's one that they very willingly accepted, because not all of God's commands are that willingly accepted. But the one that was like a no-brainer was, be fruitful. Okay. Because wherever there is a lover and a beloved, there's going to be a third. and at times a fourth and a fifth and a sixth. That's the nature of love. So I don't think we need to know any more about the theological subtleties or the reckless analogies to help us comprehend a mystery in which we were created and which we already live. So take that and meditate upon it and integrate it more deeply into your heart, that you may come to know and love God as He truly is, and what it means that we are created in His divine image. Now, there's an issue, however, I want to tackle, because there's something of a conundrum that presents itself as an impossibility in terms of our relationship with the God who made us. And even though I'm calling it an impossibility, it nonetheless has a provision that makes it a possibility. And here's the impossibility. Here's kind of a conundrum we're faced with. Everybody wants to love God. How can you not love something so supremely good as God Himself? We all want to grow in the love of God, but see, here's where we're confronted with this impossibility, that we cannot love God the way He loves us. And that might come across as a frustration, but it doesn't need to be. But we do have to answer the question, why can't we love God with the same love He has for us? Precisely because, as the scriptures say, because He first loved us. You see, here's something about the nature of love. Love initiates. God didn't wait for us to know Him and to love Him before He began loving us. No, God always knew us. He always loved us. And that's why He created us. And so even before we knew Him or loved Him, He loved us first. We can't repay that. It's impossible. If you need further evidence, Jesus Christ did tell His apostles and those who followed Him, "It was not you who chose me, I chose you." Now we look at the avenue of possibility. How has God figured this out in His grand calculus? How has He figured this out so that it becomes a possibility? And it's this. Jesus Christ intentionally made a very pointed equivalence between two commandments: to love Him above all things and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And to drive the point home and to put some flesh on those bones, He went so far as to say that all the things we do to other people, we do to Him Himself. And so what's the implication? Is that while we may not be able to make a return to God, the love with which He loves us, we can love Him by imitation. And there's the escape route. That's what opens the possibility. We can imitate the love of God through initiation, by loving those first who do not know us, who may not even love us, who may not even like us. We can imitate the love of God by forgiving those who have injured us or offended us. And we can imitate the love of God by our care for the poor, the sick, the imprisoned, the immigrant, all those who are in one way or another disadvantaged. We can imitate the love of God by loving them first. Get out ahead of the game. Initiate. Take the advantage. Because this is precisely how we grow in the love of God. Because the love with which we love others, even before they know and love us, is the love of God that is working and flowing through us and touching those other individuals. So now we have to make it super duper practical. So how do we go about this project? Growing in the love of God and imitating His love for us. Well, it can start in a couple ways. But let's start here, and with my own honest confession. There are people on this planet that are hard to love. Are you shocked? There are people who are hard to love. And we all have a list of those individuals. No, you may not see my list. It would be really awkward if you saw your name on it. But nonetheless, we all have a list. And it's not just a list of people that are so disagreeable that we find them difficult to love. There are also those people who we forget to love because of our own thoughtlessness and preoccupation and, excessive concern over our own necessities. And so again, the poor, the sick, the imprisoned, the immigrant, the people who are disadvantaged in different ways that are easily overlooked or forgotten by anyone else. So we could have like this comprehensive list. And then now this is where it gets practical. You take that list, and let's say you start at the top. And you take that first person. And you say to God, God, do not let me love this person with my love. Oh my goodness, no, save me. And then you turn your glance to Jesus Christ crucified. And you pick a virtue. And then you ask God for the grace to love that person with that virtue. And make concrete plans to put that resolution into practice. Now, clarification again, once again, Jesus Christ never commanded, like one another. That's where people get so confused. I can't love that person. It's like, get your sentimentality out of this. Get your sentimentality out of this. This isn't about your feelings. It's about willing the good of another, willing their good. That's all love is. If it comes with a feeling of affection, wonderful. If it doesn't, so what? So what? And so we think of that one concrete way in which we can anticipate an act of kindness. We can make a prayer. We can greet them with courtesy and respect the next time we see them. We can make these resolutions within ourselves. We can offer, first and foremost, a prayer for their good and for their necessities. If there's someone who has injured us or offended us, we can make a prayer of forgiveness. We can do something like, it's been years since I've done anything for the poor. You can look at Christ crucified and hear him say, I thirst. and ask Jesus Christ for the grace. This week, I resolve, I'll load up a sack of groceries and take it to the food bank. And pray each day this week for their necessities and their well-being. You see, in this way, then we make a direct connection between our prayer and a concrete act. A prayer and a concrete act. And we'll begin to discover ourselves actually practicing the Catholic faith. It's beautiful. But something wonderful is going to happen. And so let's say the list. The people that are hard to love. There's a couple things that are going to happen. The first is the people you're praying for are not going to change. You are. And you're going to find your heart softening toward them. And through repeated acts of kindness and courtesy and respect, you'll find them easier to love and discover, well, they were never the problem. I was. I mean, think back on your whole life history. Have you ever had that experience where there's this person that everyone seems to like and wants to be buddies with, but you despise them? And you're like, if they only knew what a rotten person this was, and if they only knew that, they wouldn't like him so much. No. Maybe they see something you're blind to because of your own bias and bigotry or, whatever have you. But you'll find yourself beginning to soften. And you'll find these repeated acts easier and easier and easier to do. And then the second thing is going to happen is that list is going to grow shorter. And maybe you'll end up without a list at all. But it still remains those that we forget to love and to be mindful of them in our prayer. And do the things that we can do to support them spiritually, materially, and with our own presence. Whatever you do, Jesus said, to the least of my brothers and sisters, you have done it for me. Me. Jesus openly revealing that this is his calculus. That given the impossibility of loving me with the love with which I love you, here's the avenue. Here's the exit. Here's where I can make this possible. So that you may grow and mature in my love. Give your hearts to God. Trust him. There's absolutely nothing to fear.